What's up, everybody? I'm back with another one. Okay, so today basically I'm gonna talk to you guys about what deflation is and how that can affect an economy. I remember last time we went back to school talking about inflation, and today we have another class in session. We're gonna talk about deflation. Okay, so just so you guys can know the opposite sides, or they're two different sides of a coin, basically. So I'm gonna start first by giving you guys a textbook definition, and then I'm gonna discuss what it means for our economy, for people, just the ramifications on things like that. So basically, this is it right here. Inflation is a decrease in the general price level of goods and services. Deflation occurs when the inflation rate falls below zero. Inflation reduces the value of the currency over time, but sudden deflation increases the value of the currency. Okay, so deflation is basically the reduction of the money supply. All right, so what that's telling you is how how we have inflation, and inflation is basically the increase of the money supply, and it causes our money, the purchasing power of our money, to be devalued over time. Okay, and it makes the prices of goods and services to increase. So you will need more of your currency to basically purchase the same goods that you could have maybe a month ago or 2 months ago cheaper. Okay, so deflation basically is when the money supply is reduced, and it basically makes the money more valuable over time, or it increases the purchasing power of your money over time while making goods and services cheaper. Okay, so most people, they kind of, without knowing the whole ramifications of deflation and inflation, they kind of prefer deflation. I think they're both relatively the same in terms of how they affect the economy. Like, there's just so many tangibles and intangibles that goes into it, and I don't think either is really a negative, honestly. I think they both impact the economy in the way they're supposed to. Okay, and the only reason I feel like that really occurs is because we have no backing of our currency. There's no gold backing, no silver backing of currency. It's just fiat. It's based on faith alone. So that because of that, the central banks and the Federal Reserve, they're able to increase the money supply whenever they want to, or decrease the money supply whenever they want to, and increase and decrease interest rates. Okay, because there is no backing of actual currency. There's no backing of actual money. Okay, so because of that, they're able to do certain things like that, and that's what causes inflation, and that's what causes deflation. All right, so what that can mean for certain individuals and certain companies, and why most companies actually prefer, and even the Federal Reserve, and the central banks, they prefer an inflation rate of 2 to 3% every single year, because of the fact that because of your purchasing power is decreasing, that means the debt that that a company has, the amount that you have to pay back in the end also decreases. You get what I'm saying? So because the debt was worth more when you had it previously, and later on, whenever you decide to pay it off, it's worth less because the purchasing power of your money is decreasing. So many companies like inflation because they can take on a lot of debt, and when they pay it back, they're paying it back at a lower rate, at a lower value of their currency, and it just basically, that's pretty much what it does, and that's why a lot of companies like that, and that's why when stuff like that is happening, it seems like the economy is flourishing, but it's really just a rampant growth of debt. Okay, so and it's like that in reverse for deflation. Okay, so for deflation, companies and central banks, they really don't tend to like deflation as much, because with deflation, when you have debt, it's bad for you. Okay, because the purchasing power increases with deflation, right? So that means the debt that you have in the long term, that means the debt that you acquired as a company or as an individual is worth more in the long term. So you would have to pay back more than you actually borrowed. So companies hate this, and the prices of goods decrease because there is no money supply, so your money is becoming more valuable. They're decreasing the money supply, and they just don't have to print the same amount of money that they usually do. They can just decrease it by, I don't know how much, any amount that they choose to, because really that's really what they can do. So When you have that happen for the average Joe like you and me, or just workers in general, companies tend to be like, okay, we have this high amount of debt. Our goods and services are decreasing. We don't have as much money supply as we usually do because of deflation. That they basically tend to either one, lower, pay rates for their employees, right? Or, which is what they usually do, is fire them, okay? Cut down people. And when you're cutting down people because you want to save more of that, you want to save more money. And when you have deflation, a lot of people aren't actually spending their money. They're actually saving. So it's like a cycle. Like, people are actually saving their money because of deflation, because they've seen their money is worth more and the prices of goods is less, okay? So they're actually saving their money, and it's a good time for savers when deflation happens, because the interest goes up, your money is worth more, and and people are hesitant to really spend, okay? Especially when deflation happens. So companies notice that, and they're not bringing in as much revenue as they usually do. So they have to cut back on workers like you and me, or anybody. Pretty much have to cut back on workers, and that's where you get people getting fired left and right. When there's, and deflation usually really happens when the economy especially is in a bad state. So that's when deflation usually happens. And so those are basically, I just want to give you guys that information so you guys basically know what deflation is and what inflation is and how that affects our daily life, okay? So again, just a quick recap. So when the inflation rate gets cut down to zero, it basically means we're in a time of deflation. And usually what the central bank do, maybe occasionally, I don't really know how often they do certain things like this, they reduce the money supply. So because they can increase the money supply, they can reduce it. I know it's crazy, right? They can reduce how much money is being in the circulation of the US. So your money is becoming more valuable. Think about that with anything in this world. When there's less of it, the more valuable it becomes, right? And when you have a certain debt, right? Later, when you have a time of deflation, that debt actually is worth more than what you had previously, okay? So companies hate it because they want their debt to be worth as low as possible when they decide to pay it off. I'm telling you guys, that's the truth. That's what it is. And all this is really because we have no banking. We have we have nothing backing the U.S. currency. And it's pretty much it. We have nothing backing it, no type of commodities, no type of silver, no type of gold, nothing. So because of that, they can do whatever they want with the money. We have trillions and trillions of dollars into our country, more pumping into our country, like on a daily basis, and that, it's really crazy when you think about how all this works. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really ridiculous how, when you start thinking about it economically, there's a lot of things going on that a lot of people aren't really aware. Okay, so I hope you guys understood what I was saying, and the point I tried to make across to you guys. Okay, so again, with deflation, your money is worth more. People are saving more. Prices of goods are dropping. But because of all of this, companies are not hiring as much. They're not employing people as much because they have a huge amount of debt. They may have a huge amount of debt, and they see that their goods are becoming cheap. They have to price them at a cheaper rate as well because of the decreased money supply. Okay, so that's how it usually works. And hope you guys understood something from this and gained some type of knowledge. Took you back to school on this one again. So if you guys enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And we can talk about a lot of things coming up as well. Again, rest in peace to George Floyd. And what happened to him is just something that is just distasteful. It's really sad, and it's something that shouldn't happen to anybody, really, and with all this stuff that's going on, the world just seems like a pretty in a pretty bad place, in a pretty sad place, and things just have to get better. We're all people in the day. We're all humans. We all have a goal, mindset. We all got to do better for each other in our own homes, with our own family. Not just trying to like really cause mayhem. Because we got to take care. We got to really start with ourselves first. You know, people don't like that discussion, but to better our surroundings, to better, you know, what we have to offer, to better certain things, we can't be tied into other people. Like, we are our own individuals. You know, I'm not gonna tie myself with any race, or even though race is not even really anything that determines a person's culture. It's just based upon phenotypes and skin color and all that. So it doesn't really matter. It's not real. So, you know, it's just really crazy. But again, people really have to work on themselves. I know stuff like that is even if you're doing the absolute best when it comes to handling, you know, altercation with the police officer, things like that can happen. But again, we actually have to try our absolute best when you're talking to people like that, to be respectful, even with anybody in general. Anybody can do that to you. If you're not, people have different upbringings, different raisings. If you're not respectful to them, anything can happen to you. It doesn't have to be a police officer. You have to be respectful to people. You know, being disrespectful can cause a lot of things, you know? So again, I'm not saying that's in the case of Mr. George Floyd. I'm not saying that's in his case, but again, just to start somewhere, that's what we all have to do, is work on ourselves. Okay. And rest in peace to that man. He did not deserve that at all. He did not. And those guys who were involved are just the worst type of people on this earth. Literally the worst type of people. And they really deserve to have extreme judgment handed to them. Okay. So again, I'll see you guys later. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.